Good evening, folks.
Oi, people.
People, yes. Well, welcome to the Rags and Jacks cast. We're just waiting for a guest to come in, so we'll just shoot the breeze. Um,
Yep.
I see.
Have you sent him the?
Yes, I have sent it to him. He thumbed it. He thumbed up. So we have Budgie Burger in. We have England for the English. Rory Herbert. We have Luminatus. We have Jonah
Loomy.
Louis. We have uh, Lynn Lloyd. Alan. That's a weird way of spelling Alan, but
Alun. Is that the Scottish way? Alun. Alun.
Yeah. Well, Scottish. What we got here? Resisting the Lays. DJ's in. Is DJ live tonight? If you let me know, see if we can run on a bit, or if it lets me know in the chat there. I'm most grateful. We have Johnny Not Powell, MBE. We're still working on his clone. It can now do a Roman salute. So it's not bad. It's coming along for 8 months old, you know. So, who else have we got? There's 42 in.
42.
Yeah.
Caught a bit of your sailing stream last night. Very good, mate.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
He always comes up with something that we've forgot about over the years or never learned about.
Yeah. Well, a group of friends that I talked to, they actually went and did sailing. I think it was last weekend they did it. And they said, they got some out of it. Felt the tradition and all that. So,
Emma G,
G Unit.
I wonder if he thinks there's a stern at half soon.
No, I told him 7, and he's Bootneck, so he should have been 5 minutes early.
Yeah. Because I sent him that at 6:15. So there he is. There's the centre of attention now.
All right, lads.
Hey! Fashionably late, Matty. How are we doing?
What? I'm 60 seconds late. That's early for me.
It's 3 minutes. Look, England for the English. He's ready for parade.
And I'll use this word in its right sense. You're literally here.
Yeah. Well, even that's not right, is it? Because we're not in the same room. We're not in the same room.
Oh, I'll get it one day.
Yeah. Anything you don't want to talk about, Matt, just say. But I found one of your streams from the other day. You were talking about the Helmand province and stuff, and not being able to engage.
Oh yeah, fucking hell.
Stuff like that. People that you'd maybe lost and stuff. I just set the stream up just to sort of play a wee bit, and then you can explain through it. But other than that, what was it? What was it? The other night they had like a recycling bin. It was the stitches of that.
You know me. I'll talk about anything you want. I'm not afraid. I don't tell lies, and I don't cover things up with bollocks. I'm a straight shooter, so I'll talk about whatever you like.
Yeah. No, it was just that you could actually. I got the feeling watching it, you could actually see it in your face that you were literally disappointed with the army.
Mate, I was bitter and twisted for about 10 years, mate. I was so angry about it when I left. I remember going on a rant in front of a sailor when I was in Helmand, like about a month before I left. I think it was they sent me this document, and it was like, fill this in, and it was feedback as to why you're leaving. And I remember writing on it, and he would come over and looks over my shoulder, and he's like, "What you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm filling in this fucking feedback that they want, where they ask you why you wrapped and left the Corps." And I said, "Look what I wrote," and I put in capital letters, "My disgust and hatred for the Royal Navy knows no bounds." Like, I was genuinely disgusted with him, and he sort of took it personally because he was a sailor. But like, honestly, for years, I'm firmly of the belief that those lads, like I said, Boss Thornton. Just you can Google it. I'm sure the names will come up. They died together. Dave Marsh was from Mortars, and John Thornton was the LT, and they got killed when I was in Kajaki in Helmand Province, and those lads died because of the behaviour of the brigade, the Royal Navy, and the British government. They killed them. The amount of IEDs and attacks in general that we got from the insurgents when we were there tripled in the space of about 6 weeks when this command came down. And like I said, I even named the people because I don't care. They can't do me under the Official Secrets Act now. It's all fucking known. The major there was a bloke called Duncan Manning. And he said to me when we were in the ops room, my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do about it. You know, it's come down from brigade and it is what it is. And everybody was fuming, including him, saying, he said to me, they're not digging for carrots. That was him. Because they said, when we've got eyes on them at 2:00 in the morning in a wadi, which we use for our fire support elements, regularly use to cut about the AO, when we see them digging mines and IEDs in at 2:00 in the morning, we're not allowed to kill them anymore. And he said, they're not digging for fucking carrots, are they? That was his words, not mine. And he's way higher up the tree than me.
What was their reasoning for that, Matt? I think I missed when you streamed about it. What was their reasoning for it, if you covered it? What was their reasoning?
Because they said you're only allowed to kill the enemy if they're a direct threat to your life. And he said, so if they're actually shooting at you, you can shoot them. But the moment they turn their back to you, drop the weapon and make a run for it. If they're firing mortars, bombing the camp, you can shoot them. But if they're just setting up a mortar or they're leaving a mortar tube in a truck, you're not allowed to. And in the middle of the night, the lads up on the peaks, because obviously what we would have is you would have a multiple controlling the high ground. And the lads on the peaks, if they used to spot with their NVGs, blokes digging mines or IEDs in at 2:00 in the morning, they used to just kill the cunts. They'd shoot them if they were in range. They weren't in range, they'd drop a fucking Milan on them or they'd drop a mortar on them or whatever. And that was standard operating procedure for years, as far as I'm aware. And then whatever it was, 3 months into our tour, they said, nah, we're not doing that anymore. It's too aggressive. And he was like, there's nobody, again, this is the major, the officer commanding. He was like, there's no civilians here. We're in probably the most dicey place in Afghanistan. In fact, it definitely was. Helmand Province was the worst place in Afghanistan, and Kajaki was the busiest place in Helmand Province because we used to do advanced to contact patrols, right? Basically, I'll keep it simple. There's a FLET, which is it's an acronym for Forward Line of Enemy Troops. And when you've got your map there, the FLET was the area that they'd covered, i.e. when the AO was first entered by the parachute regiment were the first ones to clear it, they dropped in and there's fucking enemy everywhere. So they scrap with them and they push them out of the area. Then they take over the hydroelectric dam. The reason this area, Kajaki, they made a movie about it, actually. There's a good movie about it.
I was going to ask you about that, with paratroopers involved in that.
Kajaki was, it might have been the paras, because they're one of the first ones to take it. But I watched the film years ago and I was amazed at how realistic it was because obviously I spent a lot of time in Kajaki.
Matt 42 says back to the yellow card rules. Now, I was under the impression that that was brought into Northern Ireland. If somebody shot at you,
I worked under it, yeah.
And if they shot at you and then they dropped the weapon, you couldn't fire back.
I know. But the thing is, you know me, when I'm not in the middle of a rant, I'm a reasonable centrist chap, right? I do understand why they're as anally retentive as they were in Northern Ireland. And I'm sure people who have never been there or are far, far more angry about it because they lost dozens of their mates there, it'll take umbrage with me saying it. But I do understand it because when I deployed to South Armagh, it was right on the arse end of it all. It wasn't that dicey, which also does make me laugh because, you know, apologies for the segue, but, you know, I do it a lot. I was talking to a guy a couple of weeks ago and he was saying to me, how come we've had so many storms and it's been pissing down with rain here in California for weeks and they keep telling us that we're still under drought? He said, it's impossible. Like, the reservoir, which used to be dry, is fucking overflowing into the streets and washing half the houses away. How are we still under a drought? And I told him, well, you aren't. The government thinks that very little of people like you and I, and they think the great unwashed peons just need to be told what to do all the time. And they think if they just say, all right, lads, we're out of drought, the fucking peons will go, get in, I'm leaving the fucking taps on all day. Like they have that low of an opinion of you. You know, not like we're too stupid to figure out we don't want to pay more our water bills. They think the second they go, oh yeah, we're out of drought now, we'll all go, hey, just leave the fucking hose pipe on for a week, right? So that's how my disgusting hate for these people knows no bounds. But anyway, taking it back to what I was talking about, they used to lie about that, which does make me laugh because I remember day one, week one, when I landed in Besbrook Mill in Northern Ireland, in South Armagh, the Sergeant Major come out and he was fucking like, he was like, right, lads, you might have heard it's quiet here. It's bollocks. There's fucking snipers everywhere. There's mines everywhere. There's killers all over the fucking shop. I was like, oh, really? Like, because they think if they tell the young lads it's not that bad, you won't be professional. You'll switch off and they'll just put your thumb up your ass and go, fuck it. So that annoyed me as well, being a thinking soldier. I was like, why can't they just be honest with us? But anyway.
You weren't here at the same time as Paz, were you, you know?
I was there. What was that? 2001, I think I went. That was my last tour. Late is what I'm getting at. Paz was probably there in the 90s when it was a bit dicier.
He was Ballykelly.
Yeah, well, South Armagh was the worst place to deploy in Northern Ireland as well. Bandit country.
You have to say it properly, but not. It's South Armagh.
Armagh, yeah.
Armagh.
Like, you want me to do my Jerry Adams impression? We are not a division of the IRA. Anyway, so basically, it wasn't that bad when I was there. And I realised walking around, because obviously I'm a veteran at this point, and I don't mean a veteran like most silly cunts who do like 3 years in England and then go, I'm a veteran, yeah, go all the marches like they're a badass. I did 5 ops. I went to Iraq twice. I went to Afghanistan twice. I saw the difference. And what I'm getting at is, I do understand people who had a dicey tour in Northern Ireland being very, very angry about the fact that we did roll over and cede so much ground to Pyra and Sinn Féin and the like. But you must understand the difference. Like Helmand Province, it is a fucking dust bowl, right? It's a shithole. Like, it's the only place I've ever been. Iraq was even quite nice compared to Afghanistan. I jumped off the helicopter in Iraq and I was like, fucking sound this. It was better than downtown Middlesbrough. But Afghanistan, absolute shithole, right? There is nothing there. Remind me to tell you about the hairdresser assaulting me as well. That's just reminded me of another good story. But total fucking dust bowl. And when you see the difference between somewhere like Northern Ireland and Afghanistan, you can understand the reticence on the part of the British government to put you under extremely difficult ROE, because you can't have us behaving in the same way as we did in Afghanistan, as you are in Northern Ireland, where, you know, there's fucking drunks coming out of pubs who, yeah, they're chippy because they're like born and raised diehard Republicans and they've just had fucking 12 pints of Guinness, but the cunts don't deserve the shooting in the eyeball with a fucking GPMG just because they're being cunts, do they? Like, so I'm saying I'll play devil's advocate there. The Card Alpha was a nightmare. It was very, very restrictive in Northern Ireland. The old, you know, I remember they used to come and count your ammunition. And my mate Brains, bless him, he got charged because the silly bastard stashed a few Buckshee rounds in the pistol grip of his weapon that he took when he was on the range. Because if he was paranoid about if you lose a single round in Northern Ireland, 1 round, they would fucking charge you. Like, it was a big deal. It was anally retentive, because they wanted to make sure that there was absolutely nothing. Basically, the military had to be whiter than white. And I can understand why it was irritating to people that served there. It definitely was to me. But the reason I'm so angry about it is because I could at least understand that type of behaviour in Northern Ireland when you're dealing with British citizens and Irish citizens in a first world country. To try and do that level of anal retentiveness in Helmand Province when we're fucking losing, 20 blokes per deployment is unforgivable. And so I'm not taking away from what your man said there. It was shocking the way they expected us to operate in Northern Ireland. But we are professional. We were expected to be the bigger men and behave in a very professional manner, even against people that loathe us. And it's a first world country and it's full of British citizens. I don't think it's a good argument to just say, I can't believe that with regards to Northern Ireland, because it is a different situation. I'm just saying, to expect the same type of level of anal retentiveness in a place like fucking Afghanistan. Christ, you could drop thermonuclear device every 10k grid square and it wouldn't make a fucking difference. It was like Tatooine off Star Wars, just a dust ball.
That's what he was. That's what he was. Can you see the thing? He was meaning they shouldn't have had Northern Ireland rules in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, so we agree. That's what I'm saying. I just thought maybe if he'd had a bad situation in Northern Ireland.
On Afghanistan, Matty, it's many. They call it where empires go to die, right? And it doesn't appear that anyone's ever been successful against the in Afghanistan. Do you think that's to do with the terrain and the environment, or is it as much to do with the people as well?
It's bollocks. It's another myth that people like to spread because it sounds cool. The fact of the matter is, it's the place that empires go to die, because empires are filled with fat, heavily moisturized civilians who don't like paying taxes for a war that they don't think greatly affects them because they live thousands of miles away. It definitely isn't because of some sort of fucking god of war behavior by the locals. They're fucking useless. The average Taliban couldn't hit a cow's ass with a shovel. I seen a bloke out there shooting an AK-47 like with his fucking feet. He sort of had it aimed up in the air like a mortar, and he had the butt on the floor, and he was in like the squatting position, just going like the guys out there aren't all they're made up to be. And I think a lot of ex-military guys who like to write books like to go on about how badass the Taliban were because they think it sounds cool. You want to have a good enemy in your book, so everyone goes on about them being the ultimate badasses. But again, I'm right, and be under no illusion that I am, because it was purely about will to fight. We had them fucking beat. We could have stayed in Afghanistan for the next 50 years with a skeleton crew of about 10, 15,000 coalition soldiers holding all the ground we had and just keeping it like it is, locked down. There was no reason for it. We didn't have to leave, did we? We weren't getting our fucking asses kicked. What was the casualty statistics for the last few years in Afghanistan? You could pick the last 5 years. It's going to be negligible. Yeah. And it sounds like a cunt you think to say as a soldier, because there's an emotive element there. But when you're an intelligent person, you have to try and put yourself in the minds of the horrible, degenerate scum that run the country, and to them you are just a statistic. And basically losing a couple of hundred people in a 5-year period is fuck all. They didn't kick. They've
already written that off on paper anyway. They've already have that, don't they?
If George Bush sat down after 9/11 and said, right, fuck it, we're going to twat the Iraqis, we're going to twat the Afghans, we're going to teach those goat fucking savages a thing or two. Give me the ballpark figure. How many blokes do you think we're going to lose? And they said, 25-year war on terror. They'd have said 50,000. Casualty statistics for Vietnam were what? 60,000 people in half the time? We fucking twatted them. We twatted them in Iraq and we twatted them in Afghanistan. We didn't lose because, oh my God, they're all hard as fucking nails, those tough, resilient people. We fucking twatted them. If it didn't cost money and require willpower that the general public don't have, we could have fucking stayed there for 100 years. We could have sucked the sands dry and left the women sobbing in the dust. And being a particularly angry man after going there fucking 4 times, it took me a long time to walk away from the position, fucking turn it into a gigantic car park, kill them all. Now I look back at that was my position when I was 28, and look at that as youthful exuberance. But we didn't lose. We didn't lose in Afghanistan and Iraq. We fucking twatted them. And if we had the willpower and we needed to stay there, we could have done.
Look how much America left behind. Helicopters and everything.
They don't give a fuck, do they? They don't give a fuck.
Do you think there was a strategic reason behind that? Or do you think it was just a write-off?
I think that the people in charge are genuinely, 10 years ago I didn't used to think this, but at this point I do. I genuinely think they have zero interest in what's right for the country at all. And they were probably told, we can just write all that off, we'll buy a load more shit. And all the arms companies and that are like, oh yeah, You want to replace all that with new stuff anyway, and you can buy it off us. And there's a few $100,000 for your arse pocket, Mr. American Senator or Congressman or President or whatever. And yeah, fuck it, just write it all off and we'll kick it out with a load of new shit. You can buy it all and we'll give you a nice backhander. They know what they're doing. You can't just put it all down. You know what I mean? Years ago, I'd put it down to incompetence. But at this point, there's no way that they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, there's some people think that is the case. And I've heard, you know, that Yank Lieutenant Colonel who got basically locked up for slagging off Smiley Miley and all the 2-star and 3-star generals because he said there's no excuse for this. And if none of those people around the table with the president were willing to throw the rank slide on the table and say, if you do this, I'm fucking done. He said they all want sacking, they've got no integrity. So they knew what was going to happen. There's no way every single 2 and 3 and 4-star general around that massive table didn't tell the bloke, this is where we are and this is what's going to happen. They knew, they just didn't care. They didn't care about the lives of a few dozen additional American soldiers, and they didn't care about ditching $50 billion worth of equipment in the sands because they knew that we can get the taxpayers to buy it all back and it'll be a nice little nest egg for all the politicians.
What do you think about the story that came out there about the funding from America going to Zelensky and it being funneled back to America?
Funneled back to America? I haven't heard that.
No, apparently it was some guy and he was a young.
Well, it is, isn't it? Because it's arms manufacturers based in America that are ultimately, like, the money is being sent to them in aid and equipment, but who's supplying the equipment? So it's going to Northrop Grumman, and it's going to Boeing, and it's going to the military industrial complex, essentially, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't heard anything official, right? What you're saying there is what I've been espousing for fucking months, right? Which is basically they're doing it because all of the people in positions of power make money via the medium of, they can't just get the taxpayers' money and put it straight in their arse pocket. So what they do is they get taxpayers' money, send it to Raytheon to buy all the missiles to send to Ukraine, and then Raytheon will give them a backhander sort of thing. Which is obviously common sense, and that's not a conspiracy theory. We know that happens.
10%.
10% for the big guy. That's not even a conspiracy theory. We know that happens. The New York Times did a massive expose of one of the rare bits of journalism that pack of useless twats has done in the last 5 years, and they put a list of all these politicians who've made enormous amounts of money off the stock market, and it's because of things like that. Like, they'll know, they'll go, right, next week we're going to vote on this bill where we buy another $20 billion worth of munitions. Quick, let's all buy fucking stock. Who are we buying the munitions off? Okay, we're buying it off this company, this company, this company. Lockheed Martin's getting 10 fucking million. So-and-so's getting 50 million. They're getting... And they just take the spreadsheet, pass it out to all the politicians, and they buy massive amounts of stock in all the companies. And then 2 weeks later, they vote on something that gives the taxpayers money to these companies. And all the stock fucking goes up by 40% in like 6 weeks, and then they sell it all.
So they've got all the foreknowledge.
Yeah. And I read a piece about that saying how... my stock portfolio, I've got some stock, from working out here for 9 years. It works a little bit different out here, and you don't just rely on the state pension. You pay into your 401k, which is like your private pension pot, and then it gets distributed. And I can look at mine for what it's worth. I'm not fucking rolling around in millions of dollars like Scrooge McDuck, but it's, I think, just hit like 6 figures, and it's halved in the last year. Right, because it's all in stocks.
So it's index linked.
It's basically, my portfolio looks to me to be, because I'm not an expert, and I basically allow the bank or this private company that's a pension company to do it, even though that's not a good idea because they're all bent as fuck as well. But frankly, I can't be bothered. I'm working class scum, and I'm not going to start running a trading network. But let's say there's 50 companies on it, and it's spread out amongst loads, right? I look at it, there's some of it's in the banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Some of it's blue chips like Intel, AMD, Nvidia, all the big tech companies, Microsoft, Google, Alphabet, all that shit. And over the last couple of years, it's gone down by about 40%. But the politicians have all won. This was an average. It was a piece in the New York Times, and it was like it had the top 20 earners from the House of Congress. and it had the average senator, and they were saying how the average trader, who's just a Joe Public 401k, has gone down in the last 2 years by about 40%, but the average politician's stock portfolio has gone up by about fucking 50 because they rigged the whole thing. They did it with all the tech stocks.
Pelosi's very famous for this, isn't she? Because I remember there was someone started a Twitter account called Nancy Pelosi Stock Tracker, and it was showing you what she was buying and stuff. Yeah. And that got banned. You weren't allowed to follow that.
No.
You weren't allowed to have the same advice she was getting.
No, that's what I mean. It's not even a conspiracy theory at this point. Paul Pelosi, there was a CHIPS Act out here where it was giving money to all these American tech companies, and Paul Pelosi had bought tens of millions of dollars in all of these tech companies that were covered by the CHIPS Act that they voted on. And there was such a backlash about it. I think he sold it all as soon as they went mad, and he didn't make much money. Like he bought it all, and then a day later it hit the press, so he sold it all. But basically, that's not a conspiracy theory. They vote with public money on all these different acts, the CHIPS Act, the Defense Department Acts to pay all these money, the Ukraine Acts to spend literally billions of dollars at all of these massive corporations, and all the fucking US politicians buy the stock of the companies before they give them an injection of public money. And it's disgraceful.
It's disgusting.
42 pointed out there was FXT, and I think they needed
FTX,
yeah. That little scruffy twat. Yeah, and he he was the biggest Democrat donor.
Did you see him jogging?
Second to Soros.
Oh, was he second to Soros? I thought he was the single biggest.
Second to Soros. So, just talking of, because you mentioned Paul Pelosi, the story's gone. It might be the same over there, but the hammer attack story's gone ice cold over here. Is it still mentioned, or is that just forgotten about now? Has that been memory hold?
It's barely mentioned by the mainstream media, but if you look on right-wing social media, everybody knows. Again, though, this is why you and Rags and myself, we can all laugh about it, because we know what's gone on. I told you've got to be black-pilled. We know we've already lost. So now it's just taking grim amusement in how fucked up it all is. Anything that looks negative for the authoritarian left, the collectivist fucking fascists that currently run the world, gets memory old. I can reel them off for you. How many things have been memory old lately? It's like, there's that bloke who slaughtered everyone in Vegas. That's disappeared. There's the fucking rampaging homosexual with the hammer of death. He's fucking vanished off the face of the earth. They've just said that they can't identify the Supreme Court leaguer. That's fucking disappeared. Yeah, have you not read that?
Yeah, where was the one, Matt, that was English man goes on rampage in America? It turns out he was from Bradford, and his name was in Wallowa.
Yeah, he was called like Akduli Ukbali Ramani or something. Oh yeah, English as fuck. He wasn't. You knew he wasn't called William Smith, didn't you? It's fucking. But that is a big story. I'm actually going to have to do a video about that. But basically, the Supreme Court is legendary for being so tight-lipped and professional, because it's a small group, that there's never been a major league. Like, it's sacrosanct, the Supreme Court in the United States. You know what I mean? It almost goes back to the foundations of the country. It's sacrosanct. Nothing gets leaked. And some fucking commie leaked their document, the pre-document about abortion, Roe versus Wade, getting rolled back. And it got leaked to the media to make this big lefty headline before the midterms. Oh my God, the Republicans want to tie all your tubes in knots, fucking hell. You know what I mean? All that bollocks. Ted Cruz wants to be in charge of your fallopian tubes. So it gave them all these headlines for the fucking midterms, right? Now they've just announced like 2 days ago, oh, fuck knows who it was. Like, I'm just going to forget about it. Like, it's impossible not to find out. When you've got something that big, it's impossible not to find out. Like, impossible.
And that's why you have to rely on people like James O'Keefe, like the Veritas people, and that. We're thankful that you've got people that are willing to step up and do this sort of work. You know, these,
you know what I'm saying? If it was even something relatively small, like if us three went in cyberspace, learned how to hack, pinched a few top secret documents and leaked them on the internet, within a week, the fucking FBI would be kicking your shitbox in. We know for a fact they would. But the Supreme Court leaguer, there's only like a few dozen people with access to those documents before they go out. And they've said, we can't find out who it was because, they all told the wives and girlfriends and that, and it's impossible. So forget about it. And everyone's gone, all right then, just forget about it. Like, it's a big deal. And it happens with everything that tries to shine a light on these authoritarian scumbags. They just make it disappear. So they'll never talk about that Supreme Court league again. Maybe if the US, eventually the Republicans take the House and the Senate in a few years' time, they might go back to it. But, I mean, you might end up digging up dirt on them fuckers as well. There's so many rhinos and sneaky, self-trimming twats in the Republican Party as well. It'll probably just disappear forever. So
I only found out what a rhino was a couple of years ago.
Oh, you did?
Republican and name only.
Not the ones the Chinese grind up for extra strong erections, and then they're going to lecture us about not using fucking reusable carrier bags while 1 billion Chinese fucking turn rhinos into spunk dust. It's our fault. The world's fucked. That's another one.
Nature's Viagra, Matty. Nature's Viagra, rhino horn.
Yeah, total bollocks. And that's another thing that's funny, isn't it? Everything's our fault. They'll point at some twat in Leeds and go, "It's your fault, you cunt." You go, "Oh yeah, there's 1.5 billion Chinese setting fucking rhinos on fire," and you're telling me the world's fucked because there's a bloke in Glasgow who doesn't do the recycling. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
But there you go. Was it Britain's CO2 contribution to the planet was less than 2%?
Yeah, less than 2%.
Yet they're flying out to Davos there with fucking Dr. Evil, with the bald head and all. So,
like I said, it's absurd enough that it is funny, which is you've got to be thankful for small mercies. If they just took the piss a little bit, it'd be annoying, but it wouldn't be funny. It's so absurd, it's actually hilarious. You get like that long-faced, Rocky Dennis-looking cunt, John Kerry, flying around the world on a private jet all the time. He's got more fucking air miles than like Prince Harry and Elton John combined. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, you cunts shouldn't be flying to Spain twice a year." It's like, all right, then.
Al Gore's the same. Al Gore. Have you seen the amount of money he's nearly made $500 million on his grift?
I know. He said, Duck.
Yeah, he said he's had 2 films out, hasn't he? The Inconvenient Truth and The Inconvenient Sequel. Both times he's predicted that there'd be no ice left in the Arctic Circle. Sea ice would all be gone. He's put 2 dates.
Well, do you remember? Go on.
I was
going to say AOC.
I was going to say that the sea ice last year. I was looking at some graphs. Was it its biggest maximum it's been in like the last 40, 50 years? The sea ice was so.
Fucking mad, yeah. And AOC went on telly out here and said, "Oh yeah, we're all going to be extinct by 2025." Like she said, Google it. You'll find a video of her saying it on like the house floor.
I've seen it.
Oh, we're all going to be extinct by 20. Really? I'll take your money, you silly fucking mare. 2025, really?
Come on, Matt. If I shined a light on her ear, it would come out the other side.
Oh, definitely.
There's nothing there. Like.
She is as light as a kite, that silly.
There'd be a silhouette of a spider's web on the wall for sure.
Yeah. When God was making her on the production line, he gave her like a triple helping of teeth and 0 brains. It was like...
Right, so that's a good segue, Matty. Well done. So talking about triple helping of teeth, our favourite New Zealand leader has decided to hang a bit up that they usually have to champ between their teeth.
Why are you saying her?
Oh yeah. We're not too sure on that. But do you think it's a case of she knows she's just getting out? It's a rat sinking ship.
Yeah, she knows. She knows she's fucked, so she's off. Yeah, I mean that's all it is. That's not really that interesting to talk. That's not that interesting to talk about, is it? Because I can't really think of much more other than that. Like, she's a fucking twat. She knew that what she was doing was unpopular for years, and now she knows she's totally fucked, so she's just going before she gets embarrassed in the polls.
Somebody said on a stream the other night there about if she jumps ship now, she can't be held accountable for what happened in New Zealand. Apparently, and people are broken it. She can't be held responsible as she leaves now. So she's jumping ship. Whether she was pushed or whether she was told she was going, but Mr. Klaus Schwab named her when he said he had people in cabinets and governments all over the world, young globalists, which I have a video on to show you and get your opinion on. I just can't stand that man for some reason.
Well, for some reason, because he's a monomaniacal German fucking psychopath who comes across like a bad movie villain. That's a fucking good reason.
Yeah.
He even wears the costumes like one, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Star Trek costumes.
According to rumour, now this is just rumour and hearsay, his father was Austrian, his family was Austrian, but they moved to Germany in 1937, and his father then joined a certain organisation, with two S's on the side of the uniform, and was an officer for years. And I looked it up, and it sort of mentions it and it leans towards it, but it doesn't actually say it, Hold on to see if we can find it here. I thought I had it up.
So, Matt, you had another mass shooting in your wonderful state of California last night. Is there any news on that yet? Or is there any suspects been? Have they named anyone?
It was just popped up in the gym when I was in the gym about an hour ago. So I don't know all the updates about it. There was 10 killed. And it was not too far away from here. But I don't think they've found who it was yet. A lot of the time.
No, it's still at large. Apparently, the last I heard.
Yeah. So
them four students, they found the guy. He was 2 states away or something.
That was weird. He's like a fucking full-on psychopath. Him like a dude out of a movie, isn't he?
Apparently,
and he was studying all of that sort of stuff as well, wasn't he? Criminology.
Was he?
Yes, he was a criminology student. Apparently, he sat them up in the bed after he had murdered them and sat in between them with his arms around them.
Yeah, it sounds like another Jeffrey Dahmer. He was class A, wasn't he? I remember watching a film about Jeffrey Dahmer in the 90s with my mate Greg. He was a bootnecker I knew who was like massively into murder shit. Like I know a lot of women. My missus loves watching like true crime stuff. Not really my cup of tea. I prefer like detective fiction, Sherlock Holmes and Bosch and all them John Grisham books. I like anything like that, but I don't like the true crime stuff. I just think fiction's more fun when you're just relaxing. I think I spend so much time reading politics and sort of history and real life stuff. When I'm reading detective stuff, I like the fiction more than the true stuff.
Ertl Rocks puts up there, it's a name. I take it that's Klaus Schwab's father's name. So I'd be copying that and then looking it up.
Is that his real name? Obo Globerfjauer. That's a fucking...
Obo Globerfjauer.
Obo Globo. It sounds like a children's cartoon monkey or something. Obo Globo.
I think that was a rank. Obergruppenführer.
No, Obergruppenführer was a rank. Yeah. I do know that. Yeah. Obo Globo Führer. I don't know.
I think it's a play on words.
Really see us and tell me what you think.
Who will really command the fourth industrial revolution and its technology like artificial intelligence?
What's your sense of who's best placed at this time to lead the world into the fourth industrial revolution? Because you pretty much created this term. We're seeing the kind of technological strides that China has made with Huawei, with the 5G technology. Do you believe that this could potentially be China's time once again?
We should make here again let's say a differentiation. On the one hand, we have state capitalism. On the other hand, we have shareholder or private capitalism. So it's a clash between two systems. I believe that state capitalism in the short term provides certain advantages because you can mobilize in a concentrated way a lot of resources to reach a specific objective. But I believe that the future is not state capitalism or shareholder capitalism. The future is what I call stakeholder capitalism, which is combined with the social responsibility.
Now, here's my question. Who the fuck put him in charge? Who elected him? Apparently he started in 1971, the year I was born. He must be near kicking 85 now, maybe more. And he's still not dead.
An evil vampire. That's why it's so egregious, isn't it? It's not that he's like coming up with ideas, because you have to allow as many people as humanly possible to come up with a plan. That's why the inclusion of women into politics and the workforce, despite the insistences of some very, very old-fashioned conservative chaps, that's why, in general, if you look at everything in a broader picture, it is a good thing, because at the end of the day, if you've got 8 billion humans and 4 of them are women, and you want to get as much talent and intellect thinking on a problem as possible, then you need 8 billion rather than 4. So I'm not against like capitalists, ruthless billionaire fucking globalists trying to come up with good ideas, but the problem is that they don't get elected on any of these ideas. They just fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? If Klaus Schwab put all of his shit out there and then ran for office in somewhere like Germany, and he's the Chancellor of Germany and he's got shitloads of power, then he's entitled to run with all of his fucking ideas, and you never know, he might have some good ones. But it's just the fact that none of them ever are elected on a platform. I mean, it's bad enough when your politicians do it as well, really, because our politicians publish manifestos and talk about things on the campaign trail and then do the exact fucking opposite. So that's bad enough. But these fuckers don't even do the running for election part. At least lie to us and run for election on something totally different and then win the position and do it with elected power. But they don't even do that. They're literally just rich people. That's all they are. They don't run for anything. They don't hold any public office. They're just rich people. They go, I'm rich as fuck, so I'm dead good at making money, so I'm going to tell you how you should run the world as well. And they go, all right then.
How did he get rich?
I believe he's just another fucking venture capitalist, isn't he? He's not like, he didn't invent anything particularly good.
No.
He's never had calloused hands.
No, which is another reason I hate them. At least people like Henry Ford and even Bill Gates, right, he was a twat, but at least Bill Gates made something. He made like a product. The worst ones are the ones who just play with fucking money all day. Like, because when you've got shitloads of money, it is hard not to make more money. And they're the worst ones. People like Mitt Romney. You know how he gets his money? He's a full-blown venture capitalist. I saw a Tucker segment about how motherfuckers like that make the money. And it's just pure, it's just totally immoral. It's what you can do if you've got loads of money and you're totally immoral. They did it with a sporting goods company. It was like, they bought one of these massive ones, you know, like Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever it is, similar to that. They buy one of them and then they go to these tiny towns where there's 4 or 5 other companies that do the same thing. And then they just sell all of the products at a loss for fucking years. And all these companies are like, how the fuck are they selling all of this gear for that cheap? I can't possibly compete with them. And all the people who live there start going to the big shop because they're half the price of everywhere else. And they do it losing money because they've got massive pockets for fucking months or years, or however long it takes, until all the small ones, all the family-owned businesses, the back of it, the soul of America, all of them go bankrupt because there's nobody going to their shop anymore. And then they fucking buy everything up, own it all, and then they just start charging whatever they like. And then funny old thing, the price goes back up, and then the next thing, they're $1 more than they were before they fucking turned up. So all the businesses go bankrupt, all the local people get stitched up, and Mitt Romney and all his friends pose for photos where they've got like bags of money, like fucking McDuck in his vault.
There's a question.
Yeah, Monopoly men, aren't they?
There's a question for the Perrys, but Spanish Chicken forgot to mention that Bumbling Boris was there too. Apparently, Blair is being groomed for Schwab's job, and Stammer is all for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and that's just code for the Fourth Reich, if you ask me. That's my opinion. Like,
yeah.
And then Boris was there, and they chased him around the place like a fucking lunatic. asking him why he was there instead of our own Dandy Gandhi, our new Prime Minister that nobody voted for, and nobody in the Conservative Party voted for. He was stuck into power by the cabinet.
Oh, he was installed. Fucking installed. The party voted for Truss, so they installed Sunak. Like I said, you have to laugh, and it is. And I've been saying this ever since fucking hell I was in my 30s. Certainly long before I started YouTube. Politics for the last 10 years has been a stitch up from the middle. It's obvious. Like the Conservatives and Labour in England just do the same shit. The delusion of people like fucking Owen Cunting Jones, they think there's going to be change. There isn't. It's just more of the same shit. More of the same shit. It's a stitch up from the middle. So that's what the parties do now. They all just do the same shit. And Keir Starmer's going to be no fucking different from David Cameron or Nick Clegg or Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak or any of the rest of them. They've got a plan. The globalists have got a plan for what the world's going to look like in 20 years' time, and that's what we're fucking getting. Voting doesn't make any difference.
Is Starmer's wife the same as Blair's wife and one of the tribe?
I really hate Sherry Blair. I remember on my first Afghan tour, she was out there like meeting all the locals. She had like open contempt and hatred for the British soldiers, but she fucking loved all the local fucking flip-flops. She was well into them.
Sense has the answer. He says yes, she is. She's one of the tribe. So.
Fucking detestable snakes, a lot of them. But like I said, you got to be black-pilled because we're getting it. I've been saying it for years. I don't see how we get out of it. The only way we get out of what is coming inevitably is full-blown collapse and a lot of fucking pain and misery. But you don't get to vote your way out of it. We're getting globalism. We're getting the Matrix. Like, how everybody is in every sci-fi dystopia or The Fifth Element or any of them. Because clever people know we're going to live in little fucking tiny apartments that are fucking minuscule. No one's got a front or a back garden. And you're eating your fucking paste and you're going to work in a box all day. And that's what we're getting. And get used to it because that's what we're getting. Doesn't matter whether you vote for Kia or fucking the Greens or Plaid Cymru or Sinn Féin or fucking SNP or any of them. That's what we're getting. The globalists have got a plan and they're installing it.
Matty, are you still talking about the boogaloo and that? Then are you still doing your basic level of prepping?
Yeah, of course I am. I'm hoping that what happens is enough people get pissed off, enough normies wake up, so we get what the far left have been gloating about for so long, some sort of glorious revolution. But what I'm getting at is you don't get what people want peacefully. You can't vote your way out of what the globalists want because they're in charge. Klaus Schwab's in charge. It's not any of these dickheads who we vote for. It's the billionaires and they want us living in a box, eating the paste, not playing in the back garden. And short of a full-blown fucking kickoff all around the world, that's what we're getting. So either it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and enough normies switch on and then we get it, or the globalists win and we end up in the box eating the paste. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think enough normal people are going to be animated because science has made us comfortable enough. Fucking morons like Ash Sarkar talk about luxury communism because they say it's achievable because we've got the technological advancements now that will make it achievable where you don't have to till the fields and labour and all the robots are going to do it. What she doesn't realise is we're going to get to that level where most of the jobs disappear. And that's obvious as well, right? Self-driving cars are coming. Something like 1 in 5 people in the United States were driving something. Truck driver, train driver, bus driver, fucking you name it, taxi driver. They're going to be automated. I mean, they reckon they've strung it out longer than they need to because Tesla did something like 200,000 driving hours and only had like 1 accident. And then they use that 1 accident and go, oh my God, they've killed someone. We can't do this. But if you rack up 200,000 driving hours from normal people like you and I, probably kill about fucking 11 people. Like robots are safer because 99% of crashes are caused by human error, and everyone knows that. If you've ever had a crash, I've had a crash, a minor one. It's because I was looking at a bird's ass. I was like 20 and I'm like, yeah, perving on a woman. Next thing, you twat someone up the ass. Most crashes are caused by human error. They're not caused by mechanical faults.
You didn't twat her up the ass, did you?
No, it was the embarrassing thing was it was when I was on a drives course when I was at Bootneck. It's like driving me thing. Traffic lights went to red when I thought they were on green and I was perving at a bird. Fuck. Point I'm getting at is they did it with the automation on the trains in France and they went from, 10 accidents a year to none. So in the next decade, most of the fucking jobs are going to go. And this is actually a fascinating topic to talk about because I listened to a podcast about this. We always thought that it was going to be the blue collar workers who got fucked because it was all like driving jobs, fast food jobs, unskilled jobs. We're all going to get automated and replaced by robots. But they reckon we've got so good at technology, it's going to fuck the white collar workers as well. I wish I could remember whose podcast it was. I listened to so many. It's basically some dude, some fucking Silicon Valley genius saying how he was having a chat with a lawyer and the guy's like, if you type into some of this software now what they're testing, I want to have a legal paper written for presenting at my firm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he said,
I saw the same podcast. It was the Lotus Eaters.
Was it theirs? I don't even know.
Yeah, they were talking about that chat. They were talking about that Chat GPT AI program, and he put the legal document that he wanted, and he just put some real basic keywords, something that you'd pay an underwriter thousands of pounds for in London at solicitors, and boom, within seconds it came up.
10 minutes.
And it even had stuff on there he didn't ask for. It had extra stuff.
He said it wasn't the best thing ever because this guy's an experienced lawyer, but he said it was definitely as good as like a third-year law student would write over a week, putting 50 hours of work in. So what I'm getting at is it's not just the blue-collar workers that are going to get fucked. It's going to get to the point where, they keep saying learn to code. I read in the Spectator a piece about Silicon Valley, and they were saying learn to code won't even work because in the future it's going to get so good and efficient that you're not going to need to write lines and lines and lines and lines of code for programming. It's going to be easy. So you're going to be doing programming with a tenth of your workforce. But what I'm getting at is we're not going to have any work in 10 years' time. So they're going to get this luxury communism, but it ain't going to be luxury communism. It's going to be luxury living in a fucking cube and eating your paste and not going anywhere while the elites fly all around the world eating fucking foie gras steak. Like that's what we're getting. And I don't see how we avoid it.
You know the way you do your art? Now, Dangerfield put up a stream there maybe about a fortnight ago, and he'd been floating through the internet and he's been finding this and finding that and finding the art. And there's a writer's app you can get, and you put in what you want. So the hero's Matt, it's Afghanistan, it's during the war, blah blah blah, and it writes this story. And then you can go in and cut and paste and take out what you want, or you can change whatever you want. And it was fascinating to watch. But that means writers are now, novelists and stuff. Even education's fucked.
It's coming.
Because kids can just go onto this and go, I need this for my homework. Right? We're doing the
write me an essay.
Yeah, write me an essay. And then there was the next week he came up with it, and it was an art program. And he had done up these art things, and it's in his Telegram. And it was like women, like big bohemian women in armor around the breasts and all. And he didn't draw it. The fucking computer did. The program did.
Yeah.
And that's actually here now. We actually have that. What you're talking about is driverless cars. We talk about art imitating life. What was the film with Tom Cruise in it? And his son died, and he was an investigator in the pre-crime film. What was that?
Minority Report.
Minority Report. And the cars, they all sort of ran on rails, and they all went this, your destination. And as soon as you wanted to drive the car, you had to put it onto auto or drive, and then you just put it back on the self-drive and then headed off down the road again with you in it, parked up at your destination. That's coming. It has to be. as Matt says about the lorries, they're, who was it, Scania are testing lorries at the minute that are self-driving. That's what them smart motorways are for too. That's why I think they're bringing them in, because there's metal elements underneath the tarmac, and they can tell what cars are coming across and what weight they are, and, you know, the speed and this, that, and the other. And they'll be able to slow you down, congest the traffic. That's if you're allowed a car for that time, you know.
Yeah.
So, mate, here's a question for you, mate. So, if you were a young lad, or you were giving advice to like a 16-year-old or a school leaver, all right, what would you advise them to do in a way of jobs, careers, to try and make themselves as like, again, like you know, like their jobs can't be taken, you know, proof against it, you know, this what's coming down the pipeline. So things obviously that at the moment a robot can't do, and there is nothing in the pipeline that you can think of. So the things that stand out for me straight away is obviously the trades, the standard trades.
I think.
What would you recommend?
I think it's a hard one because I'm so black-pilled that I don't think there's going to be a fucking, you know, career. I mean, I don't like the word career. I remember my old mate, the Despot of Antrim, made a good point that, you know, career is just it's a word they make up to make you desperately seek out going to work every day and paying your taxes and doing as you're told. But I don't think there will be. It's just a job, right? It's a fucking job. You should go to work to pay the bills so you can enjoy your fucking life. And I don't think there's going to be a career because, like I said, at their age, 10 years' time, everything's going to be fucking automated. I think you're going to be living in a box, doing as you're told, probably working minimal hours. In all clever science fiction, universal basic income is basically a thing. Same in The Expanse, right? It's like 90% of people don't work. The elites go to work and everybody else is on basic assistance. And I think that's the way it's fucking going. So I wouldn't look long-term, like career-wise. I'd look short-term, i.e. up to 10 years, and how you could wring as much fun out of that as possible. So I'd say don't go to fucking university. Either go to a trade school, try and find something that they think they will still need people for, whether it'll be something to do with maybe servicing the fucking robots that are going to be doing everything, or I would still, even after I've just went into that lengthy tirade, because I've matured a little bit and thought on it a long time, I would still go in the most manly military unit I could possibly find. So the Marines is a good one because there's no birds in it. I'm assuming the fact that there's no birds there, you might hopefully get away with the worst of the excesses of the politically correct lot. And the reason, and that might surprise you, but the reason I'd say it, because I have thought about it, is that I relished so much of the military, even though a large part of my personality rebelled against it. It's like I relish the discipline because I'm naturally quite undisciplined. And I relished, and I love the camaraderie and being around all those blokes and having a crack all the time. And you don't have to agree, even if you don't agree with the war in Iraq, which I don't, and I certainly didn't. But I went twice. And I think if you're lucky enough to live through it, you get so much out of it. It's life enhancing in a lot of ways. And I just think that humans are like that. There's so many things where we're our own worst enemy. We don't like to get on the treadmill. We like to sit on our ass. We don't like to be married to one woman. We like to be promiscuous because it sounds brilliant. And then I was skeptical about getting married, and then I did it, and then I got forced to be in a monogamous relationship almost. When I was a young lad, I sort of railed against it. And then I look at it now and I go, actually, I really got so much out of it. I think we're our own worst enemy in so many ways. I would still recommend the military, even with all of its faults. You might get used as cannon fodder, at which point, tough shit, but it's a numbers game. I think you get so much out of being surrounded by a load of blokes and having to do things that you don't always want to do. I'd still recommend it. I'd certainly tell my nephew to go in, even despite all its faults, but maybe for a short period of time.
I don't know what the minimum sign-up period is these days.
Probably 4 or 5 years or something. Be all like human rights bollocks. They probably can't keep you in for very long. I think you get a lot out of it. And that's what I said. I'm pro-national service, right? I don't trust the government and I don't trust what they use the military for, but I do think you get a lot out of it. I think you get a lot out of being forced out your comfort zone and being told that you have to be at a certain time, at a certain place, dressed in a certain way every fucking day, and learning a bit of self-discipline and self-respect. I think you get loads out of it. And I don't trust the government, and I know they use the military incorrectly, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. Certainly wouldn't go to fucking university.
There you go. There's 42 says, the army. Like, you can get an education in the army. You can get a trade in the army. You can become a fitter in the army, working on tanks, jeeps, and Land Rovers, and whatever else they have.
Well, like I said, right, because this is the point I keep making. When you're an actual conservative, you're a cynic and you're a pragmatist, and this ridiculous infantile fucking utopianism that the commies practice, people like Owen Jones, it annoys me because it's childish. At its heart, it's a childish belief system. Grown men have to face the mirror and say, this is what we get and this is what we've got to work with. And nothing's perfect. And there's tons of things wrong with the military. But the military-industrial complex works, right? It's not perfect, but it does work. They get scum like me who would have been carrying fucking sheets in the coal ovens in Middlesbrough for 25 years. And to get out of that, you join the military and you get misused by the government to go on wars of adventure in places like Iraq where you shouldn't have went. But it does work. It gets you out of poverty, and it is a numbers game. It's like chance you'll get your legs fucking blown off or you'll get killed. But it does work. And I'm a realist and a cynic, and I don't think something has to be perfect to get recommended. At this point, I'm out of ideas what would be better than either trying to embrace a masculine trade and lose yourself in that, or going into the military. There's loads of things wrong with them, but I don't see what's a better alternative. I'm working with what I've got.
I have mates here that are Sparks. It's been Sparks for years. One was actually Spark for MOD. And the contract, he was contracted for the MOD. And the money that man made in a week, most people wouldn't make in a couple of months. I know
a lot of lads who do it again. It's a very working class job, isn't it? Although loads of lads back home who are Sparkies. But again, it's I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but how many of those jobs are going to be about in 10 years' time? They're going to be 3D printing buildings. They reckon construction's going to die on its fucking ass. They reckon all the buildings are just going to get printed out and popped up. Like all the shit that we think of, like Brick Lane, being a joiner, Sparky, that's going to do the dodo as well.
There's a company here that deliver, and on the road, off the main road that I live, I've seen them every once in a while, and it'll be a big, massive lorry, low-loaded lorry, with flashing lights and 2 cars, one at the front, one at the back, and and wide load, and it literally has half a house on it. And then the lorry, 20 minutes later, has the other half of the house, and they're taking it up to the coastal towns right here, and they've already the foundations and all done. And what they do is they plunk it on top and screw it to it, wired in, and there you go, Bob's your uncle, instant house.
Yeah, so where the world's going. So it's an hard one to answer.
Yeah, my auntie has one of them houses. They're called modular houses. It was constructed and built in Germany, and it come over on 2 lorries. And they just do like a flat screed, pour all your surface through. All the holes are already in place in the building, and they plonk it on, join it together, fashion it to the floor. And yeah, you've got a house.
No, it's built to a plan. All the sewage pipes and all the water pipes and all are all in place while they set that thing on top, and they just feed it up.
Yeah, so all the services are already in. Yeah.
Apparently it's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying a house these days. But where am I at here now?
Hey, we're all going to be living in fucking porta cabins, basically. Little tiny porta cabins in big giant fucking. It's going to be like Warhammer 40,000, living in them big hive cities, just big concrete fucking monstrosities with people in cubes.
Well, you're going to be like the Fifth Element, below when you're under the.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Chinese down there in a freaking floating boat going, oh, there you go,
yeah, so I mean, it's definitely happening. It's definitely happening. I just do not see the normies waking up. because, like I said, right, I've talked about it with Paz. Until people are really uncomfortable, that's the only time you get your revolution. That's why they try and encourage bitterness and spite and envy and make people pissed off. We're not going to get too uncomfortable. We aren't. Like, as long as you've got your gardens can disappear, your houses can get smaller. As long as you've got a full belly and you're entertained, and we've mastered fucking that shit. When the people start plugging themselves into these VR helmets and shit, there's already little Korean fuckers who leave the kids to die in the crib because they've been playing World of Warcraft for 3 days. They're going to master that shit. We're going to be in a cube, but we'll be relatively happy because you'll have your fucking Matrix helmet on and you'll be like, this is amazing. You'll be in some sort of digital orgy, right, with your cock device strapped on. You'll get everything taken care of. And people will go, fuck it. I might not have a back garden and the kids might be, slugs because they don't use the legs anymore. But I'm quite happy. Right? And I think
they've devolved.
They've devolved. Because, that's what I'm into chihuahuas out here because they don't chase sticks anymore. They just carry them around all day. So when they put them down, they're like, what the fuck are these leg things for? You know what I mean? That's what's happening to them. And I think that's what's going to happen. I'm totally black-pilled. I think we're going to lose. And our political channels have proved it, right? I've been at this for fucking 3 years. I think I'm better at comical, off-the-cuff political fucking repertoire than most people. And nobody's that interested. It's like, at best, you get a couple 100,000 people on one shitty platform, while tens of millions are watching and listening to the BBC and the Guardian and the fucking Channel 4 and Sky News. And it's why they can totally destroy the character of people like Sargon, who, if you followed his whole UKIP campaign, he just got totally annihilated because we think he's a big fish because he's on YouTube. He isn't. We aren't. It's a tiny platform, one little circle. People think even things like Rumble and that, no fucker goes on there. Russell Brand's only got 6 million followers. It's a drop in the ocean. The real mass media, when the Silicon Valley giants and the TV networks and the radio fucking networks all come together and all the printed media, they tell you what to think and what to do and where to go. And they've won. And I don't think, no matter what anyone of us says about it, there's going to be enough interest from the normies to kick off about it. So we're going to be in the cubes and we're going to be eating the paste.
There's a question for you, Matt. Can you see that?
Yeah, when are they going to man our borders and not get involved? Well, they're not going to because the army do as they're told. And the government are in charge of the army and the government have no fucking interest at all in manning the borders. So they're not going to.
Our military are currently training Ukrainians in Britain, and they are sailing the seas around Taiwan in case of a Chinese attack. Our Navy.
Yeah, we're more bothered about everyone else than our own. It's fucking like I said, because it's globalism. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Globalism. That's what we're living in. They don't. I've told you, the politicians themselves don't sit there and think, what's the best for our people? They think of the whole world. You know what I mean? This is what I keep saying. The analogy I use is it's like if I was the CEO of Burger King and I spend all day worrying about if our next product's going to fuck McDonald's over. That's what they do now. They live dreaming about, oh, is this going to be bad for Somalia? Oh, fucking hell, can we do this? It might be shit for Spain. You're meant to be the Prime Minister of Scotland, you fucking little poison dwarf. Why aren't you worrying about your own people instead of the whole planet? Jacinda Ardern's the best example because she's in charge of a little shitty country, the population of about fucking 6 million, and she's there worrying about the world. They're always wading in on everything in the world. It's globalism. So, of course, they're fucking worrying about Taiwan. They couldn't give a monkey's fuck about England. And that's the way it is.
I'm convinced she could eat an apple through a tennis racket. It's fucking unbelievable teeth.
BBC Whiskey at 10. Well, yeah, what I'm saying is you've got to combine it all, right? It's like YouTube's fuck all. And they hamstring the best fucking YouTubers anyway, so they don't get the fucking voice out. Oh, fuck. We're lost again. Well, I thought they were getting relegated 3 months ago, so I'll take whatever I can. I'm quite optimistic about Middlesbrough Football Club for a change. But no.
Or something third.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? We are fucked. They do control. Look at the TV networks. For every one normal conservative thing you can think of, like GB News, there's 10 that toe the globalist line. Silicon Valley are globalist. YouTube only allow us on to maintain the myth that they're somewhat interested in balance. When it tips too far and they think they need to give it an extra shove, then they'll just cancel a lot of us. We'll all get deleted. They control the narrative. Silicon Valley is globalist, and the governments of the world are globalist, and the vast majority of the printed media and the radio networks and the TV networks are globalist. So I don't see us winning. I just don't.
Have you seen the protests at Ballymun? And they're protesting the coachloads of men coming in and boys flying into the airport in Dublin. And they lose their passport from getting on the plane to getting off the plane. Their passport disappears.
Yeah.
And they claim asylum. Now, I think it was BBC Northern Ireland went down to film some of the protests, and he called them far right. It was fucking old grannies pushing prams.
Yeah, because they're the only ones interested enough to protest, which is what I was going to say. Because
there was men and women there, but there was a whole community of people. Apparently, there's only about 5,000 people in Ballymun, and they're an old working class. I think it was they had a textile mill and something else there, and all that's now gone. Now there's a guy sitting going, this posh Irish guy going, we're one of the most. I think, what are they in the richest nations in Europe? I think they're fifth or something.
Ireland are very rich. Republic are very rich.
But they don't have any money.
It's because they undercut. They basically did what Trust tried to do, didn't they? They just have the lowest corporation tax in the EU.
Yes.
So all the big companies, Blizzard and Activision and fucking Google and all of them, they're based out of Ireland. So that's what they've done. And again, we should have done that fucking 5 years ago. Theresa May gave a big speech about it, and then she backpedaled on it all because the paymasters told her what to do. But she said, if we're going to have an adversarial relationship with the EU, well, let's have it then. I'll shave 0.10% off corporation tax, and we'll get everybody in fucking London. We'll become Singapore by the Thames and all that shit. And that all vanished because it'd work. So it's bollocks. They're doing as they're told. Muted yourself there, mate.
Sorry, as I was saying, corporation tax in Ireland is a lot less than it is here, because I used to work for a company called Seagate, Tyco, and they made medical equipment, and that was like 600 people in a town, in a factory, and I was a toolmaker. I kept everything going, and after I had left, because I was due to breaking my back, it was all sold up and moved across the Donegal, because ours is 43% tax. Theirs is 11%. They give all the managers brand new bungalows over there if they wanted to go across, but they could still get paid in sterling in Northern Ireland through their banks. So there's a win-win situation for them. But as you say, Matt, this is corporation tax. Google and all aren't paying corporation tax in Dublin. There's loopholes and loopholes and loopholes, and they're not actually paying it. So it's not actually going back into the community.
Aye. No, we're fucked. And I was going to say, even the protests you're talking about didn't fill me with joy, because, like, A, Northern Ireland's fucking way more based than anywhere else in the UK, and B, there was still only a few hundred people there. Like, the normies aren't interested. Right, that's the most base part of the UK, and even that, it wasn't like half the fucking town came out. Like, I just don't see us getting it done. You know what I mean? I don't. We're too comfortable and we're too fucking lazy. You needed to kick off. Like I said, the reason we're in the position we're in is because the people who grew up in the shadows of World War II knew what it was like to really suffer, and they had an hard time. So they really impressed that onto the kids. And then the kids were thankful for what they had. And we've been running off the vapors from World War II, sort of ism, the feeling we got from that for too long. And it's ran out. So the boomers sort of appreciated how lucky they had it, because the parents told them a lot about it. And people our age almost get it because our grandparents told us about it. But it's been too long now. The general public, the normies, don't fucking care. And they won't care until we're all in the fucking cupboards, and it'll be too late to do anything about it now. Peter Hitchen's miserable bastard. That's why I like him, because he's a miserable bastard like me, and he's always saying, you fucked. And he said, like, maybe we could have turned things around 10 years ago, but we can't now. We're fucked, and we are. Basically, that's what I think. I think we've got no chance.
Well, Matt Taylor was on the night, and he said, Britain has lost democracy. You know, that was the title of his video. And I'm thinking, so he lost it 20 years ago, mate.
Yeah, gone. Fuck. Britain hasn't even been democracy. It's 40, not since Cameron. Well, not since Blair, really, but Cameron didn't do anything about it. Cameron was the one where everyone thought, oh, he's a conservative. He fucking wasn't. Essentially, Blair never left. And the Conservative Party's just been a continuation of Blair policies. So Blair and his lot won in the 90s. The march through the institutions all through his tenure, and that was when they stitched it up. And we've never stopped doing Blairite policies, and he's a globalist, and that's what we're all going to get.
Oh, there's Farage just mentioned there, but Farage did uncover the fact that the Chinese government had actually acquired, what was it, 129 private schools in Britain. So all these, you know, well-to-do people that are sending their kids to this place with a dormitory and stuff, and they're there for 3 months, and Mama and Papa come and pick them up for Christmas and things. And I don't know how much they're paying, Matt. It's in the thousands. Literally packed out the school libraries with Marxist material, you know, communist Chinese material, like.
Hence all these young commies who think it's trendy because they've never read a fucking critical book. Anyway, lads, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go. I told my missus it'd only be an hour. So
yeah, no problem.
I enjoyed that, but
I always do.
Yeah, we'll do it again soon. Fucking set one up next month. Just as long as you keep bombarding me with messages a few days before it, I'll fucking come up on time and we'll do it. All right.
No boy.
I think Jack's fucked off. Anyway.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen. All right. Cheers, Jack. Yeah, fuck you. Look, you can't respond now. Wanker. All right. See you later.
See you, mate.
Right. I have a couple of things to show you.
You've got a few videos to play then, Rags?
I have to. Where are we at here?
See, I've thought a little bit different. I saw those protests, the videos from the protests yesterday down in Belfast, down in East Wall and that. And I thought the crowds looked. Look, I know they're not, you know, half the city, but I thought they were still quite big to make an impact, like, you know.
There was a video I was sent, and you could hear the people chanting at the back of the lane, and they didn't arrive for 3 or 4 minutes, and it was such a constant stream of people. I forgot to download it because I stuck it up in here, but there's a load of people, but they're being sort of depicted as far right this and far right that, and, you know, neo-Nazis and stuff.
Far right toddlers.
Far right toddlers in the pram, you know, and the buggy. You couldn't make that stuff up. Where was it? I have one. I think I have one of it. The Dublin port protest.
Now, people have copped on fairly quickly, with a few communists in our midst there trying to divert the peaceful protest that we are having to something towards their ends. And their fucking communist manifesto bringing in hundreds of thousands of people. Beware of these people in your local communities. These people will try and sneak in and take over the message that we're trying to send the government. But they're in cahoots with the government. These people are ordinary people here. Don't let your protest be taken over by these types. No plantations!
Now, that wasn't the one that was That wasn't the one that was yesterday at 2 p.m. And was it Dublin? I seen the advertisement.
Yes, there was a big one yesterday, wasn't there?
Massive. There was fucking thousands upon thousands. And then all the sort of Irish YouTubers, they were all there, videoing it and stuff. What do you call him? What's his name? Gran Torino.
Derek Bly.
Computing Forever. All them guys were all there, and there was a lot more than a few hundred people.
Yeah.
But they're doing the same. I looked into it as soon as we heard about this, and I looked into it, and there's about 6 refugee centres in Northern Ireland, and one is in a closed down hotel right next to a entertainment venue for children. This place has the cinemas, and it's got it used to have an ice skating rink, but I don't think it has that anymore. It's got a bowling alley, and that's where all the kids go on a Friday and Saturday night. Because it's right next door to McDonald's, and mum and dad drop them off and give them a few quid. They go in there and spend a wee bit of money, maybe go and watch a movie, go and play bowling or whatever, and then they all hit the McDonald's. And what's 100 yards down the road? Hotel full of migrants. And the lovely migrants that everyone wants to, in their community. They're not migrants, they're foreign invaders. Simple as. What I forgot here. Was this one? Before I go here, just before I go on here, that there was filmed in, I think it was London. And if you notice the guy that's commanding them, he's got a red beret on. So that would dictate to me paratrooper. But the rest of them, I know the colour's not great in the video, but it actually looks blue, which would be UN. So really see how amount of people.
No offense.
When was that filmed?
Somebody sent that to me, I think it was last week, but I didn't get a chance to play it because we were busy doing something else. Now that there looks to me like UN troops. I might be wrong, maybe John Farmer or somebody in the chat, or somebody on the or Simpson or somebody at London stand, he says. But that was basically in the middle of the night, so, sort of towards midnight and stuff, the last buses and all. Some wee woman, you can hear her voice in the background there. She's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, who are these? Who are all these people? Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. I wonder if this one.
Go on, Rags. I've got to get going. So play something out for us, and I'm going to have to shoot off a little bit early tonight.
Oh, same here. Not a problem. I'm going to get the feed up, and I'm struggling to bloody see. I think my blood sugar is over about 15 at the minute, so I can't dare play that. I'll get myself a strike again.
Well, listen, I'm going to bow out and say good night to everyone. I'll let you carry on for however we want to go on to, and I will give you a shout tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Lovely to see you all. Take care. Night.
Military homes where they'll be got engaged of Putin's autocracy. The proof of the pudding's in the eating. Watch it. 9/11 attack. There's a 7/11 attack. Anyway. hold near and dear to you that you, anyway.
How would you say your mental focus is?
It's focused. Hold near and dear to you that you, anyway. Who's a topic? Shit, I'm like a ramrod. Watch me. Start off with 2 words. Made in America. Those are the footies in the idiot.
How would you say your mental focus is?
It's focused. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. Single word. How's the foot hypnotist?
Okay, folks, thanks for coming. I really enjoyed that one. Matt just jumped back in there. Thanks for coming. And next week we have John Palmer on. So that should be interesting. So hopefully see you all there. I'll play us out with my normal. What do I have here? Good night, good evening, and Odin bless.